Darryl, I must warn you. This is going to be dangerous. We may not survive.
If I was scared of dying, I would have left town years ago.
Your fate is here. That's a strong belief of mine. Even if you left, you would have returned.
You're probably right. My curiosity would have still been compelled by several cases I've been a part of. Nothing compares to this.
Hold on. Looks like we have some action finally.
I see several cars pulling into the place.
Look closely at who gets out. And let me see again. It will be difficult to comprehend.
Wait, someone is coming out of the mansion door. I can't make them out yet.
We need to figure out a time when we can enter. It seems like these cars leave and arrive on a schedule, but I haven't seen anyone come out of the house when the cars arrive. We may have to be stealthy even if we think the place is empty.
Hold on. I think, No. It can't be. I must be tired.
What do you see?
I'm losing it, Constance. I think I see me.
What? Let me see.
What is going on?
I don't understand. I mean, I understand the alternate versions of me and my Shadow Brigade team, but we're not from this time. And how can you have two versions of yourself in the same universe? Doesn't make sense.
You're losing me, Constance. My friend Dr. Mills is not here to help me with these explanations.
I told you before, I come from the future, but also from another dimension. Or so I think. Theoretically, this means there could be a different version of myself if the world is parallel. And this goes for everyone. However, what wouldn't change is the time of existence. Either you don't exist at all, or you're still born in the same time. This is different. This is like a clone, or a twin.
Clone?
Forgive me. I do not know how far science is in this time and space.
Okay, humor me. Why would there be twin versions of ourselves?
A gap in the fabric of space and time. Perhaps no one down there is from this world either. Perhaps they entered through a similar way that I did. A portal. I wish I knew what they were saying. Oh no. I think they saw us. They looked this way.
Give me the binoculars. I don't think we actually saw anyone, but we are certainly coming this way. We can't wait. We have to get in there now. Follow me. I know how to get us closer. I swear I saw something.
I think you're just jumpy. I told the others you can help. Don't disappoint.
You don't have to worry about me. Just explain it again.
We need to track your other self. We believe a rogue agent is working with him. You understand the importance. You don't want to disappoint them, right?
I said not to worry. I'm proving my point. I know myself. I would have been spying on us from a safety point.
You mean they have seen us?
Oh, that's the least of our worries. Knowing me, I have a secret way to enter this mansion. Some kind of oversight on the land deed, probably.
Good. And they're working right into our plan. Let them do what they want. We'll be waiting. This is all according to the plan. This was foretold in an ancient prophecy. The reason the Light Brigade exists.
Yes. And what do we do once we catch me and whoever this other agent is?
Kill the agent. But bring the other Darryl to the chamber.
For the Light Brigade.
For the Light Brigade.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Ball, Lost in Dreamlands. What a finish to the non-divisional slate of our regular season. The standings in the middle remain close, but two teams are surging at the right time. The standings near the top had a few setbacks this past week, leaving all three divisions in a sort of flux. Two teams reduced their magic number to 1 to clinch postseason berths, though. But still, there's a lot to be decided. We had some big matchups that set us up for the final stretch of the season, but our last was more about who wouldn't be eliminated as defending champion Green Acres traveled to Miami 29-35 to take on Air Jordan. Air Jordan, the preseason number 1 ranked team due to having 4 third-round picks and the number 1 overall pick, is eliminated after 11 weeks. That is a sentence none of us expected to speak when the year started, but here we are. Green Acres crushed the now rebuilding squad 105.5 to 65.08. Though the defending champions used unconventional ways to get the win, with the tight end and kicker leading the way. Jonnu Smith finished with 101 yards and 2 scores, and Chris Boswell had 6 field goals, including 3 50-plus yarders. Air Jordan had most of their points from Bo Nix, who went off for 307 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. Cameron Dicker added a 50-yard field goal and reached double-digit points. Both players to watch underwhelmed, but Green Acres still did have 106 yards from Christian McCaffrey. Air Jordan watched as Kyle Pitts showed he is never going to live up to his hype in Atlanta, which is 9 yards. Green Acres remains in the hunt at 4-7, but will most likely need to win out in a division that includes 2 8-3 teams. Air Jordan falls to 2-9 and is the first team this year already planning for consolation bracket play. The other matchups last week were much bigger in the standings, with so many teams fighting for the playoffs and within striking distance of each other. Let's check them out in the best of the rest. Thor hosted Pounders in Berlin 1929 last week. Both teams came in hot, but it was Lebowski Thor who pulled off a third straight victory, 124.86 to 102.74. Pounders had their 6-game winning streak snapped. Taysom Hill was a maniac for Lebowski Thor, finishing with 188 combined rushing and receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, including a 50-plus yard score. Hill also had 18 passing yards, but did lose a fumble and also threw an interception. Jalen Hurts added 221 passing yards, 39 rushing yards, and a score, and Josh Downs and Tyreek Hill also reached the end zone. Chase Brown collected 143 yards, and the Vikings defense allowed just 13 points and collected 5 sacks and had an interception. Pounders chose the wrong quarterback this week, as Daniels had just 1 touchdown, but Breece Hall and Brock Bowers made it interesting. Hall had 121 yards and 2 scores, and Bowers had 123 yards and a touchdown. James Cook added 2 scores, and Jackson Smith and Jigba collected 118 yards. Jake Bates added a 50-plus yard field goal and 7 extra points. Lebowski Thor moves to 5-6 and is just 1 game back in the European void and is tied for the final wildcard spot in the standings, but behind in the tiebreaker. Pounders is now 8-3 and is in first place in the Asia Pacific void by tiebreaker alone. More Than Conquerors traveled to take on the Overcomers in Toronto 22-35 and picked up some huge points on Monday night to claim the 104.68 to 92.78 win. Joe Mixon went off for 30 points on Monday night to give More Than Conquerors the victory. He had 153 yards and 3 touchdowns. Drake May finished with 282 passing yards and 2 scores, but did turn the ball over twice. David Montgomery beasted with 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp led the overcomers with 106 yards and 2 scores, and Derrick Henry also reached the end zone. Jawan Jennings had 91 yards and a score, and the Lions defense finished with 6 points allowed, a sack, and an interception. More Than Gonkers moves to 7-4 and remains a game up in the European Void. The Overcomers fall to 4-7 and are a game back of the final wildcard spot and 3 games back in the American Void. The Clash at Demon Head hosted the Elite Mother Tuckers in Barcelona in 1992 with teams needing wins in a tight playoff race. But it was the Elite Mother Tuckers who pulled out a 102.08 to 86.54 win. The Texans' defense came through on Monday night late after strange events. Brandon Aubrey hit a 64-yard field goal, but a penalty gave Dallas a first down. They took the field goal off the board, but never tried again, getting stopped on a 4th and 2. A few drives later, the Texans' defense rumbled a fumble to the end zone for the finishing touches. The Texans also added 5 sacks and an interception, allowing just 10 points. Justin Herbert had 297 passing yards, 65 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. He did lose a fumble. Devon Achane finished with 105 yards and a score. Jordan Love had a couple of touchdowns for the Clash at Demon Head, and Brian Robinson added 72 yards and a score. Jaden Reed reached the end zone, and DeAndre Swift added 84 yards and a touchdown. The Ravens picked up 4 sacks and a pick. Jameson Williams and Christian Watson were on the bench, unfortunately, though. Both teams are now 5-6, with the Elite Mother Tuckers taking a hold of the 6th playoff spot based on points at the moment. The Clash at Demon Head fall to 7th and are on the outside looking in right now. The Stellar Bitches hosted Minerva's Minions in Mexico City 1955 in another giant matchup in the playoff race. The Minions didn't take this one lightly, crushing the Stellar Bitches 128.24 to 66.44. Saquon Barkley finished with 198 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God, collected 157 yards and 2 scores. Patrick Mahomes had 3 touchdowns, and Kenneth Walker also reached the end zone. David Njoku collected 81 yards and a 2-point conversion. Joe Burrow led the Stellar Bitches with 356 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Zay Flowers also scored. Minerva's Minions is now 6-5 and 1 game back in the European Void, also sitting in the 5th playoff spot at the moment. The Stellar Bitches fall to 5-6 and have now lost 5 of their last 6 matches, still 2 games behind Remember the Titans in the American Void, but they are on the outside looking in, falling to 9th overall in the standings. Finally, Remember the Titans hosted Risky Business with the Tripod Award on the line. Risky Business did enough on Sunday night to retain it in a strong 121.64 to 94.36 win. Sam Darnold finished with 3 touchdowns and 246 passing yards. J.K. Dobbins had 2 scores, and T. Higgins went off for 148 yards and a score. Josh Jacobs added 134 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase had 75 yards and 2 scores for Remember the Titans, and Jamar Gibbs collected 123 yards and a touchdown. Brock Purdy threw for 2 touchdowns as well. Risky Business is now 8-3 and tied with Pounders in the Asia Pacific Void by record, but behind in tiebreaker at the moment. Remember the Titans falls to 7-4, but remains 2 games up in the American Void. We are setting up to have a very close wildcard race down the stretch, and just 1 division can officially be clinched this next week. We still have the possibility for Week 12 to make things really interesting in that we could have just a couple of postseason berths clinched, which is crazy to think going into Week 13. Usually we have a couple divisions clinched by then. The last out-of-divisional results do mess with the power rankings again, with the computers still clearly not taking tiebreakers or who beat who into consideration just yet. So we had some movement at the top and in the middle. The power rankings might not catch up to the standings until after Week 13 when we get some clarity with who's going to win division titles, how many playoff spots are still up for grabs, those types of things. It's going to be pretty nuts, though, based on what we see so far. That's the show! Hope you enjoyed it. We will go over the first of the final divisional matchups tomorrow in our previews. This is it, everyone. We have reached the final stretch of the regular season. Before you go, check out the updated power rankings. Until next time, salut.